Here's another session of Rice and Beans. Today we're going to talk about scaling, right?
Yeah.
Scaling. So it has been a interesting journey for me in terms of scaling. So who wants to start off this conversation here?
I'm going to let you open it.
Okay. Well, so as I'd mentioned earlier, I kind of toy around with the idea of trying to come at scaling from the people who are always screaming for scaling and come at it from their perspective, and because I know my feelings about it, and I started to realize the reason I get so caught up in it is when someone says they want to scale, they go straight to the teams and they say, "Hey teams, we need to scale Agile, make that happen."
Well, who?
Which yeah,
Well, who is
well,
it?
usually, yeah, that's a great question. So usually middle management,
Okay.
because they're getting pressure from somebody who read a Harvard Business Review article that said, "Hey, scaled Agile will help your company scale." Plus, the term "scale" is the buzzword du jour or du year.
So it's middle management.
Yeah,
so
middle management and executives who hear that scaling is the thing to do, because bigger companies they're trying to keep up with keep the same pace that the growth that they had when they were a small company, and they're like, okay, we got to come up with something that scales this. We've had some successes in these little spots. The natural business mind says, let's put it all together. Let's make that happen.
Multiply it.
Yeah, let's just multiply
right.
it. And what I realized, it sounds like I was on a TED Talk just then. What we realized no, what I realized was they go to the teams because they think that's where it has to happen for scaling.
Okay.
And they're not realizing that scaling means you need to come at it from the whole company perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a cultural thing. And so it's not that they're evil, it's not that they're stupid. It's that, like, okay, all of these people are all my resident Agile experts, therefore I'll go to them and say, hey, make us scale. And what frustrates a good number of us coaches and agilists alike is that our very first thought is, well, it's going to start with you guys.
Yeah.
You all need to start.
Okay.
And they don't understand that. There's pushback. And like, well, we just paid $10,000 for a scaled Agile framework, therefore we've done our part. And like, no, that's not the part you got to do. It's more than an investment. It's an actual cultural change. And we could talk for days about that cultural change. But
a question for both of you guys is, what is the driver? So if an executive reads the HBR article and they get motivated by something in it, but what tends to be the motivator you hear the most?
So for me, this year, what I've discovered is usually the notion is basically they want some way to nail the performance of the teams.
Yeah.
Well, they say, cool, I've got a team there. Well, how do I measure my performance? How do I look good? Right? Somebody's paying me some X amount of money. We've invested tons of money on it. How do we show us looking good? And somewhere along the line, apparently this scaling has some built-in metrics and stuff that helps people do that. I mean, that's one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other part is, again, it starts from the top, right?
Right.
Top knowing, well, how do I direct my team to go do what I want them to do?
yeah.
Now, it always goes back almost the same way to me. It's like, well, how are they going to build the right thing?
Right.
Right. From a bigger picture.
From a bigger picture.
Right.
So there needs to be people talking, there needs to be people directing.
Which is funny that you say that's the bigger picture, and then you were mentioning that the first thing that they go through is go straight to the team producing it.
Yeah, because the teams seem like they're the ones who know what they're doing, and those teams, all those individual teams have great metrics, and it's a natural thought. It's like, hey, can we combine all that? Yeah. I think where it breaks down is that people realize you have to change the company. You have to start looking at the company level. What are our impediments? Like, there's a great article, again, Harvard Business Review. I think it's Jeff Sutherland. He co-wrote it sometime middle of the year, and it's of 2018. And it was the get right at, you have to, as a team, not be saying, okay, we're going to be agile by X date, which is really hard for companies. At the executive level, they're like, well, we have an initiative, we have to have an end date.
Right.
And that's completely inconsistent with Agile. It's like you actually have to have a target for what your what are some cultural norms, how we're going to measure that, but also remove company impediments. You know, what are the things that are keeping? It's not just measurement, but it's also being able to pivot quickly in the marketplace.
So do you?
Right?
So the fundamental things that I always constantly get asked of is, cool, I've got 6 teams.
Yeah.
They're all self-running, everything like that.
Right.
Well, I need to somehow show collective data.
Right.
Should I combine them?
Yeah.
Should I combine story points? Should I?
Sure.
All those things.
Yeah. All the things that make it fall apart.
All the things that make it fall apart, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it just doesn't work. So
Yeah.
I don't have an answer. To me, it's like, why are we scaling? Shouldn't we be descaling, for instance? If I look at Microsoft, I mean, it took them 8 years to 8 to 10 years to say they finally go agile. Now, what I read was they were initially this big, giant battleship. At the end of the day, what they end up with just small, fast,
break it into little pieces.
small cruise ship, right? Not cruise, but small tactical ships.
Yeah.
Right.
They move fast.
That's the way to do it.
To me, it's small, right?
Right.
So I still don't get it. I just don't understand why. It always comes out to reports. I want this report. I want you guys to show me this report, but then it doesn't work.
Yeah. The reporting aspect is an interesting one, especially from a small, like if you just have 6 teams, I would still consider that a very small company, and you can get good old fashioned scrum of scrums. This is as scaled as you need to be, right?
Yep.
But when you're talking hundreds of teams, is kind of where I'm coming from.
So if you look at
thousands of
hundreds of teams, thousands of teams, right?
Yeah.
But to me is, if it makes sense, if these hundreds of teams are moving in the same direction,
Right.
they are somehow connected.
Yeah.
But if they're not,
Yeah.
if they're in separate, almost I would call silo department by themselves, there's no
Right.
connection, there's no reason to force them together. There's no reason to say everybody's going to start sprinting this Wednesday on this exact same day.
Yeah,
No
or the big room planning.
Right.
You know, big room planning makes sense if you have 5 or 6 teams that are going exactly the same place, have exactly the same customer, and the same impediments to a release. Now, I'll get lambasted by a good number of people out there, but that's really where you get value out of that kind of particular scaling model, right? But you get 50 teams going, you're 100% correct. You get 50 teams going, they're not even going to all have the same customer.
Right.
Why would you want to encumber them with a gathered or single release train? That's just going to make things horrible for everybody.
Makes it even more complex.
Yeah.
And
You've added complexity to your customer, to your teams, to your release trains, everything. Why would you do that?
yeah, the funny thing is when everybody just hand jams everything together. And I always go back to Spotify, the 2 things that they say. One of them is highly autonomous, but I always look at the highly aligned.
Right.
It's like, hey, how aligned is this? And are we just putting, square peg round hole kind of deal for the sake of we're scaling?
So, and I think to me sometimes it's just that notion of a single parent or single entity owning multiple businesses.
Right.
Okay.
You may own multiple businesses,
Right.
but if they're all separate small companies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's no reason to make them all into one and line them up and say, well, we're going to go scaling because of that.
Yeah.
Because they're also something the customer is
Right.
different, right?
It's like you read the article. Yeah, because Sutherland, it's Sutherland, Rigby, and Nolan, I think. I don't remember the other guy was. But yeah, that's one of the first things they say to do is think of your company as a bunch of customers.
Yeah.
And break them into smaller pieces so that way you're thinking in those, okay, it's not siloed. We're just simply saying, let's try to make that work from executive on down, whatever it is you're going to deliver, think of ways to deliver it incrementally. And so that's that group doing that, another group doing that, and another group doing their own customer and their own releases. But like the Spotify model, there needs to be some cross-team communication.
Right.
And I think the Spotify model actually, they kind of recently came out and said, it was an experiment, parts of it failed.
Yep.
We've actually realized we need to be a lot more aligned and we can't be totally separate. But, yeah, go ahead.
But you mentioned at one point, so we always talk about Spotify,
Yeah.
all right? We talk about Spotify.
Yeah,
So for me, when I look at Spotify, Spotify is only one entity.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
They do one thing.
yeah.
There are multiple features in it,
Right.
but they do one thing.
In the grand scheme of things, they're actually kind of a small company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really don't have it's not like they have 20 products,
Exactly
right? They
right.
have a product with 4 interfaces.
Right.
Ish. Right.
So to me, that's great that
Right.
we learn from that, but we still have to walk away with understanding that, wait a minute, Spotify is one, they're experimenting.
Right.
Right. And that's honestly what I enjoy most about watching them go through their journey is that they are quick to say, that really didn't work out.
Right. And then
going back to the drawing board, and they're not fully committed to something or that may not be a good fit. They're open to let's try this and let's try that, and see what sticks, and we'll keep that aspect of it.
I think the most valuable part of the whole Spotify model was just the communications, improved communications. Like a lot of their other mechanics are like, well, that's obvious, or that's just a more relaxed version of some agile mindset. But their communication, the cross-team communications, their chapters and what is it, guilds, that's pretty good.
But I'd be willing to, but that scaling and all, that is the one problem you talk to any team in a retrospective or anything. Oh my God, it always comes up is, you can't communicate across teams or across the ocean or and it's like, okay. So are we really just trying to solve a communication problem?
Right. That's what it is, right?
I'm not trying to oversimplify.
You should just take your mic off and drop it right now because it's done. Scaling is really bad communications. Don't forget that, kids. Boom.
So, I mean, are we bolting all kinds of different things to accomplish something like that? I mean, I know that there's other benefits to it.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day is we are human beings. Okay.
Well, maybe you.
We love.
One of us is.
One of us. We love to complicate stuff.
Yeah.
We cannot leave things easy. We cannot leave things simple.
Yeah.
Our minds always want to make it more complicated than it could be.
Yep.
Right. So we love engineering. We love all this science stuff. So what we end up doing is we over-engineer stuff.
Yes, we
so
do.
we over-engineer the whole process, over-engineer the whole communication things. We tend to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So that's now the flip side of it is this is agile or scaling agile. The one I hear the most is it is a framework, right? It is what we call the standard operating procedure or the common or the standard out there.
Yeah.
Right. So it's people has been doing this already. So we should just adopt it.
Right.
Yeah. That's the other.
Just take it. Just take it as it is and run it, and we'll be good.
Yeah.
Not knowing why.
Yeah.
Right. Not knowing why.
Yeah. I mean, it is. Yeah. We beat this drum to death, but the cultural change that's required is pretty immense, and people don't get it. Right.
You hit it. You said it at the very beginning when you were talking about the cultural impediments, and I think that the big pitfall is that organizations see the big pretty framework, with a big poster, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's the solution to it." But the thing that kills everything, even from a small scale, is the culture. If your culture isn't going to support the collaboration and everything that comes along with it, and the commitment and the acceptance of we're going to fail, you're going to have a hard time at the small scale and exponentially more at talking about portfolio level, all these different things that
Yeah, you just came up with a great article or a blog topic. Scaling disaster. If it's bad at the team level, just scale it out and see how bad it really.
Well, so the fear of failure, right? So they bought this framework.
Yeah.
They pay a lot of money of it
For coaches and
for trainings and everything like that. So they're really fearful of failure because they dump a bunch of money on it.
Yep.
Right.
So they're gonna hold really tightly onto this because it's no longer an experiment. It's like, holy cow!
Yeah.
I'm fully committed to this. This better work because
I spent $10,000 and I lost everybody for a week for training, and this is better work.
So it better work.
Yeah. It has to work.
Which is very interesting. So that in itself, to me, is stopping.
Yeah.
Truly stopping agility. Truly stopping adoption of it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, once you put a dollar sign on anything, you're committed. You're
committed.
committed for however long they foresee it to be.
Well, let's look back in terms of software.
Right.
Okay. So software side. So as I started my journey as a software engineer, I go pick up a book. I learn techniques and stuff like that. Right. I learn Microsoft languages. Right. I get comfortable with, I start using it, right? And then I'll kind of ignore the rest of the world because that's all I see.
This is it. This is what we got. Yeah.
And then I don't understand that there's something out there that could be better. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. I don't know. But the fact that I'm so fearful to going out and trying it, I will never succeed.
Yeah, you've invested. It's the sunk cost paradox, or not? It's not a paradox. It's the fallacy, right? I've sunk all this money into it,
right? And then it's all.
Therefore, we can't try anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if you want to try, then the whole notion of there's a deadline.
Yeah.
We need to get this done right now.
Right.
So because we need to get it done right now, who has the most skills? Who has the fast? Well, this is all I know. Therefore, I'm really fast at using, I don't know, wind farms, for example.
Right.
Instead of trying Angular, instead of trying to well, this is all I know, so I'm going to do this because it's fast.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Mr. Project Manager or Mr. Executive? And the answer is, oh yeah, we need to get it out the door. So therefore, it stops for innovation for that.
Yeah.
So there's something that I realized that we were in that position before. I've been in that position before.
Right.
And now I'm listening to people saying, I can't do Angular because I don't know Angular.
Right.
And I think it sucks.
Why do you think it sucks? Because I don't know it.
Right. Because I don't know. I don't have enough information.
Circle, yeah.
Like that. So is scaling the same way?
I think so. There's two pieces to it. One piece is just the fear of it. It's not like Agile adoption is the problem anymore. No. In fact, it's the opposite of that. Is when people want to scale Agile, they start looking at teams that have no business trying to use Agile.
Yep.
And like I know for a fact there are teams that I've worked with that they've been told, they'll ask me, okay, we want to be Agile, we want to do Agile, help us out. And my very first question always is, so why is it that you want to invest in Agile or shift to an Agile culture? And they're like, oh, well, we were told that we need to be Agile by next quarter. And I'm like, okay, all right, so let's talk about what that looks like.
Right.
And there have been plenty of times it's like, you really have no business you're not going to get the benefits from Agile that you're being told you need to get. You're not going to be able to measure your work in that way. Reporting is great, but what are they going to do with those reports?
Right.
It always circles back around that.
So looking at, we're focusing on the idea coming from an executive or maybe even a middle manager, and they may not be subject matter experts in the Agile world. So who is somebody that you're in your organization that could be that person that will guide that decision? And should that decision be coming from a non-subject matter expert, and should the company have somebody from within or external?
Okay, so this is how the journey always starts, right? Executive have no idea. Right. I'm going to go to my subject matter expert. I go to my team. Oh, my team, I discovered that they're running Agile. Right. This is pretty awesome. One team success. They have a coach, everything. Oh, this is really awesome. Well, I need more of this success. Right?
Yeah.
Cool. So they start talking to the person down in the level of the coach and say, how it's going, everything. Oh, this is also cool. Now, this executive is going to start to go outside and learn.
Right.
Yes.
Right? He's going to learn everything. He's going to go ask about questions now. At this point, he's going to hear a lot of stuff that's out there. Here comes scaling. Here comes a bunch of stuff in there. Right. Now, he's going to make the decision that he's going to invest.
Yes.
All right. Now, he hears that a lot of people do Agile badly.
Correct.
He has a fear. He's really scared. Right? So he's going to hire a consulting company, give them a bunch of money to come in and do Agile, whether right or wrong.
Right.
Because he trusts outside more than he trusts this guy that's inside that's doing it.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, you're doing it only for one team. I want it from all my team.
And these people have a legend track record.
They have a track. They have a path. They know how to. You don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
And that's when it derails, I think.
I feel like I'm such a cynical guy because anytime you talk about bringing in a consultant to train up a team in Agile, there are the good ones out there. I know that there are good ones. I'm not going to mention them by name, but They know who they are. But there are so many others that are they're just a consultancy that see dollar signs. They're like, if the idea of consulting a company on Agile and then really thinking about the principles of Agile is it doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual thing. They're like dollar signs.
Yes,
like this could go on for years. And I feel like I'm so cynical, but I think there are a lot of companies that are taking advantage of that. I mean, why wouldn't you? If your mind is, okay, we have this company, these people will pay us, we'll send all these people to get their CSM or some other certification, and we'll dump them in there, and we can bill them just through the roof for years. So it's guaranteed money making. It doesn't solve the problem, and I think that's where we've all seen that, and we're all a little jaded by that because we're like, no, you can actually be pragmatic about this. Help isolate the groups that need to be scaled together. Yes, you'll get increased benefits. You'll get better throughput for a larger group and better data to go against. If you do it thoroughly, that group that, let's say there's 6 teams going all the way from the executives down who feed that pipeline, if they think in terms of breaking work into smaller pieces, think about delivering iteratively, being accepting of failure, but continuing to improve whatever it is their product is, that's scaling. That's as far as it needs to go, in my opinion. And unfortunately, these other companies are like, no, we need to bring them even more together because that means more years of getting paid.
That's right.
And so we got to, maybe do we need some sort of a red flag for these people are bad?
I was actually going to ask. You read my mind.
Sorry.
No. I'm glad that you said that. But if we were to make a suggestion to executive who just happens to stumble across this video, what is the one red flag that they can key on if they're having a conversation when they reach out to that group, that consultant company, or even the individual? What would be something that would be like, ooh, that sounds like forcing it?
I think the consultant who says, we can do that, without having met anybody or been into the company or met the teams and even understand, the matrix of all the products that company might have, that should be an immediate, like, we can do that. I think the other is if they don't ask a question about, so how many products do you have, or what are your products?
Maybe asking question why.
Getting all the way down to why is it that you want to why is it that you want to be agile? Odds are, if they're looking at a consultant, they're already going to have, well, we've got these figures on this one team, and boy, their productivity is way up, and their throughput on getting changes out the door is really good. I want to make that happen across the company.
Well, okay.
It's kind of a valid reason.
It's okay.
Yeah.
What if the executives say it's because everybody else is doing it?
Yeah, you should be like, sorry, I'm not going to be able to help you. No, I think if I were a consultant, so this is what I was talking about in the beginning. So pretend I'm the guys who I immediately vilify and think of as the bad guys. If I were a consultant and someone came to me and they're like, we're a company, we have 50 teams, RJ, you just started your new consultancy with Charles and Richard. And we heard a lot of good things about you guys, because you guys are awesome. And we really want to pay you a lot of money.
Sold on that one.
Sorry. And my answer would be, yeah, sure, we can do that. And they're like, we want to be agile. And my first question probably would be, why is it that you think you want to be agile? And you're right. They would, let's pretend that their answer was, well, everybody's doing it, and it's where it's at. I'm like, okay, well, we need to talk a little bit more about that then. Before we pull in a bunch of training and pull all your teams together, we need to understand a little bit more about your product. I think you need to understand a little bit more about what that really means, and give them a free consult for an hour about, okay, how do you deliver? What is your product, etc.
So is productivity going to gain by 120%?
Yeah. By 400%.
But you're hitting on something that, I've worked with both of you guys, and one of the things that I've enjoyed whenever we were approached by a team in a very small scale. Team that was like, "Ooh, we heard about this," and they're really excited, and they want to jump in. But what I loved about what you guys have done is, hey, let's pump the brakes.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation about your team, your culture, where you work, your product, and all these different things. And then we will give you some pointers on if this is the right thing to do or not.
Right.
Is this decision the right fit?
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to that cultural question and tying that to my recent, I don't call it a failure, my recent hardcore education on helping 2 large groups where some of the people in that group didn't even acknowledge that there was a problem they were trying to improve on.
Because you don't know.
Yeah, and if not everybody agrees that there's a problem, you're not going to be able to pull everybody together.
Nothing to fix.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have pockets of resistance or flat out rejection. So that's at the smaller team level, but at a bigger team level, I think you have to ask executives about scaling. You have to ask them, are you willing to invest in researching how you do your business? Because your business may have to change. Are you willing to do that?
Yep. And that's a long shift. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not.
There's very few companies like, okay, we're changing the way we do business. Hey, customers, by the way, well, we're not doing that anymore. We're releasing quarterly. Now we're releasing monthly, and you're going to get a lot of changes. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm number 1. What?
So red flag. Going back to red flag, then basically it is the questions that we get asked.
Yeah.
If the consultant jumps straight right in.
Correct. I think if a consultant is like, that's going to be easy. Yeah, obviously that. I don't think any consultant would do that.
I don't think so. But what do you guys think about if they recommend just we're going to implement the full framework, whatever the framework is. They're like, we're all in with this, we're all in with that.
Also a big giant red flag. Yeah. That's a good one.
So framework, tools right off the bat.
Oh yeah, tools. Yeah.
You should be using Jira. You should be using CFS. You should be using some sort of tools.
Yeah, the whole one size fits all. This is the part the soapbox I didn't want to get on, but I think the problem, it's like, I think they're up to 14 different scaled models out there, right? And I think people had success with them at a particular company of a particular type, and they're like, yes, this will work everywhere. It's like, no, it won't. You have to be pragmatic. You have to take the pieces that do work from all the models that are out there, and then don't try to commercialize it and package it up and say, this works for these companies. It's like, no, it has to happen this way every time. And I think that's why executives have a hard time with that answer, because they're like, what do you mean? We have to build it ourselves?
Exactly. And why am I paying you? If that's the case, why am I paying you?
Because I'm an expert at pulling together lots of pieces. Right? That's my job. My job is pulling together the things that make sense.
And there's no end date to it.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said earlier, I want to keep emphasizing it. There really is no end date.
So that might be the other red flag, right? Is if a consultant says, if an executive gives them a date and the consultant says, absolutely, we can do it by then, that I would definitely be like, I'm sorry, that's the door. There's no way to know.
But no, reality.
Yeah.
All the way back up, there's a single guy up there, CEO, whoever that last person is always going to look at the bottom line, right? He's going to ask for a date.
Yeah.
So how do you work with that?
I know how I do it in our company. No, I think the answer is we have a target date. We'll shoot for that date. We'll get as much done as we can get done by that date. Let's establish what are our measurables. What is your baseline right now?
So at what date, at what time, what do we have?
Yeah.
Not only that, but if you've got, because I do agree. I like having a target.
Yeah. Sure.
But very much the way I look at it is the same way we treat how the teams produce.
Right.
Hey, every once in a while, we should be having that transparency and visibility. And what progress are we making? What challenges are we making? And having that conversation with the executives instead of black box.
Sure.
Or whoever's asking for it.
Yeah.
Instead of black boxing it, it's like, hey, every 2 weeks or every month, we're going to get together and we're going to look at what's working and what's not.
Yeah.
And that's our model.
Sure. Like knowing how you're going to measure success, it sounds like a no-brainer, but if you sit down at the very beginning with a consultancy and you tell them your client, let's talk about what is it that you want to measure? Where is it that you want to improve? We're just asking that question alone. If they're like, well, I don't know, well, then we're going to have a hard time, because if you don't know what you want to improve, how am I supposed to help you? Yeah. So you can help them get there. Like, okay, let's talk about it. Finally land on something, and then, like you said, add some checkpoints. If we're working towards it, then clearly something's working.
Yeah.
Right.
And at 6 months, you could say, okay, in 6 months you want to be trained up. Let's shoot for 6 months. See what we do. See how you look. At 6 months, if you want to keep trying to get better, we can. If you think you're done and you want to run on your own, that's fine too. Mm-hmm. So I think if I were an executive and a consultant told me that, I'd be like, guys seem like they're straight shooters.
Yeah. Well, because of this fear, right? This fear that within 6 months there's nothing get delivered.
Right.
Because we've all been tainted with all these projects.
Right. Yep.
We paid a bunch of money, and then in 6 months we got nothing.
Right.
Right. You paid for somebody to come help you build this room.
Yeah.
After 6 months.
Right. Too soon. Too soon. Right? Yeah.
I mean, and I know I'm gonna get off on a tangent here, but I think that for me, the elephant in the room with a lot of those decisions and why companies and executives get wrapped up on I need to get it done within 6 months is because of what I'm starting to get really upset at is the antiquated budgeting process that a lot of companies use.
Yeah.
Going back to
some money.
We're using budgeting for me, and I'm not a budget expert, but from the outside looking in, and I hear the conversations and I see the struggles, and people get so mesmerized with it. It's like we're using antiquated budgeting techniques that made sense when we were producing, physical products and applying it to software. It just didn't fit. And the same thing applies for if you're hiring a consultant and you're trying to make the buzzword transformation is it's got to be done by this because I'm pumping this much money into it.
Right.
So instead of looking at it like a project, so it's more like an ongoing operational cost.
Yeah.
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 So it's part of it. Right?
It is.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think if I were an executive and a consultant said to me when I gave him that ultimatum of, well, we only have 6 months. We have budget for 6 months. At the end of that, then we have to be done by then. If a consultant told me something like, well, if you don't feel like you can improve your budgeting process, then let's stay engaged for 6 months. We'll talk about what measurable improvement looks like. We may not get you all the way there, but let's target trying to get you to be able to stand on your own and run on your own and go from there. If a consultant told me that, I'd be like, I think I would say no red flags. Yeah. The person is acknowledging that that's probably not enough time, but that there will be improvement.
Yeah.
That's
small bets.
Small.
Bets.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other red flags that we're going to talk about?
Oh,
I think those two are the major ones.
To me, those are the big ones, man. If somebody shows up with, I loved your answer, RJ, about the without really having a conversation and doing the recon, that's a red flag. And then somebody shows up with hey, this is your all-in-one solution.
Right.
That's a little bit of a red flag for me as well.
Yeah. All-in-one solutions are definitely the biggest red flag to me, really, because especially if they start recommending tools, odds are there's either they're aligned with that tool. They need. If they come to me with options, great. But if they come to me with, this is the tool you need to use, like, I'm going to also need yellow flag there for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a good stopping in terms of our conversation, in terms of what scaling is.
I think so.
Yeah.
Be pragmatic.
Yes.
Watch out for red flags. Yeah. Watch out for consultants who are carpetbaggers.
Yeah. When you say be pragmatic, I want to I know we're late on time, but what do you mean? How can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I use pragmatic as kind of the catch-all term for be reasonable, tear things apart. Don't be afraid to break structures apart and use the pieces that make sense for you.
Right.
And that requires massive amounts of discipline and a lot of consideration. Right. I don't think a single person should come in and say, I've picked and chose from these 6 different models and this is what you should do. It should be a group. It should be all the agilists that are involved in the scaling process so that everybody is talking about the same thing, and it gets back to that kind of that domain language so that nobody's misunderstanding one another. They've arrived at, okay, this is the model that we're building as a group, and let's make sure all of our terminology makes this is accurate and makes the same sense and means the same thing to everybody. And to me, that's pragmatic, right? That's like, do the right thing. Don't get hung up on certain areas. Just pull it together and use something, build something that fits your company.
Yep. I agree wholeheartedly with that approach. And from what in my last 3 years, I think I've been with companies that take that kind of approach, that it's not the one size fits all, but it's that let's explore different aspects of different frameworks and different practices that are out there, experiment. If it fails, hey.
Yeah. And to me, it's always back to the same thing, what problem we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
What problems along, we just pick one problem, solve the problem, and then move on.
Yeah.
My favorite question.
Yeah. All right. So going all the way back to what we're talking about, scaling, what problem is scaling trying to solve? If you can ask people that and people can answer that, you're going to have a good relationship.
Yep. Cool. Agreed.
All right, folks, you've heard it from us today. This is a topic that it could tear teams apart. It could tear us agilists apart. I mean, we got, left and right. It is just like a topic on politics or religion. So to me,
we're adding scaling.
We're adding scaling to it.
That's hilarious. Thanksgiving. Dad, don't bring up scaling again. Right. Oh my God.
Don't ask what a Scrum Master does. Yeah. Right? So hopefully you guys get something from this. If you have any questions, any comments, whatsoever, agree, disagree, let us know. All right.
And remember, kids, we had a lot of fun today. Scaling's no joke.
Scaling's no joke. That's right. And do remember to subscribe.
Scaling kills.
The only way for us to continue this is for you to subscribe so they can get more content and not only getting more content from us, but help us direct our conversation.
Absolutely.
All right?
How many subscribers do you have right now? Do you know?
Like 25.
25?
Wow, 25. If we get to 50 subscribers, I will play a banjo song.
Oh my God, please.
50 subscribers. That's
50 new subscribers.
New subscribers. So all right.
It can't be Charles Rodriguez, C. Rado. It's like, wait a minute. I will learn a band. Well, first I have to learn how to play the banjo, and then I will learn a song and I will play it.
Awesome.
As an episode.
So we'll open up next video with the update on that. How we did with that.
Yeah, we're like, we had 2 new subscribers.
No banjo for you.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that's it.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, guys.